Hey guys, and welcome to another Top 5 Wednesday. And this week's topic is our favorite children's books. Now this can range from middle grade books to picture books to anything in between. Now as someone who works in a library, I encounter a lot of picture books and I think they're very underappreciated among adults at least. Like yes, they're meant for little kids, but some of them are really creative or really sweet or just really funny. And I think that more adults should read picture books, honestly. So the list I made is a bit of a mix between books that I read when I was little that have a lot of significance to me, and a couple of books that I read more recently while I was working in the library that I thought are just really great. Number 5 on my list is Bread and Jam for Francis, or really any of the Francis books by Russell Hoban. I don't know if anybody else read this book when they were little. I think the more classic one is Bedtime for Francis, but I think Bread and Jam is my favorite one. They're just really cute. It's about a little badger. She eats bread and jam every day for every meal. And everyone's a bit confused, like, aren't you getting a little tired of bread and jam? She's like, nah man, I love bread and jam. Anyway, this is just a really adorable book and I love it. I used to read this all the time when I was little, so it just has a very special place in my heart for that reason. Number 4 is Guess How Much I Love You by Sam McBratney. This is another one of those classic kids books that I'm pretty sure everyone's read, and if you haven't, what have you been doing? It's very cute. I just love this book. It makes me happy every time I read it. And yes, I have read it multiple times since I've been a teenager / adult person. It's just really sweet. It's another one that I used to read all the time when I was little, so that's why I just love it. Number 3 is a more recent one, and it's called I Want My Hat Back by John Clausen. This book is the funniest picture book I've ever read in my life. It's not even really obviously funny, it's very subtle funny. Like, I don't even know if little kids would find it funny, but I do. Basically about this bear who loses his hat, and he goes around and keeps just asking people if they've seen his hat. And it's a very simple concept, but it's very funny. Just the illustrations, and there's one page in particular. It's very funny. So even if you're an adult, if you are in a bookstore, maybe just look up this book. It'll take you about like maybe a minute to read. It's really great. It's really funny. I was in a bookstore one time and I made my brother read it and he thought it was really funny as well, so not just me. Number 2 is any book in the Junii V Jones series by Barbara Park. This is the best chapter book series ever. Oh my goodness. These are the kind of chapter books that you read when you're first kind of getting into chapter books, and you don't really realize exactly how funny they are until you reread them as an adult. But like I said, I work in a library, and the other day I just kind of started flipping through one. I read like 2 chapters. It took me like 2 minutes. The way Barbara Park writes it is that it's like literally the voice of like a 5-year-old. Like it sounds so funny. It does sound very reminiscent of how little kids talk. I've never seen anyone able to capture that kind of weird way they word sentences and stuff so much as Barbara Park has done. I loved these books when I was little. I think I read like every book in the series. I read the first grader series as well. They're so good. I think you'll agree with me. Junii V Jones is great. I do have a very distinct memory of going up to a cottage one time and accidentally leaving one of the Junii V Jones books from the library at the cottage, and then we had to pay for it, and I just felt distraught about that. And number 1, my favorite kids book of all time probably, is The Wonderful Pigs of Jilly and Jigs by Phoebe Gilman. Now when I was little, I loved this book because the main character had my name. Not only did she have my name, but she was a redhead. So basically it was a book about me. This book is basically just about a girl named Jillian who has a very messy room, and so she decides to use some of the stuff in her room to make little stuffed pigs and sell them. But then she decides she maybe doesn't want to sell them because she kind of loves them, which is a whole dilemma. This story just basically describes her making these little stuffed pigs and all the different personalities they have. It's got a very fun rhyme to it. It's like very like rhythmic and everything. There was a point where I memorized this entire book, and for a talent show at our church, I literally sat there and just recited the entire book. I don't know if that's a talent or not, but I did. I just loved this book. I still do. I still think it's a great book. This is the first page, okay? A long time ago, as you may recall, Jillian Jigs never cleaned up at all. Jillian Jigs. It looks like your room has been lived in by pigs. My mom used to say that all the time when my room was messy. But yeah, this is a great book. If you've never read the Jillian Jigs series, because there's more than just this book, there's like 4 or 5 other ones I think. This was always my favorite. But if you haven't read them, please do, because they mean so much to me and I would love if other people love them as well. That is my list of kids books. I just want to give like a couple special shoutouts to books that didn't make my list, but I had to include at some point. Special shoutout to Robert Munch books for being great, especially Mermal. That's hard to say. And I'll Love You Forever because that book always makes me want to cry. Also to books by Chris Van Allsburg because they're so weird and the art is so crazy and I love it. Also just a quick shout out to the book Gaston by Kelly DiPuccio, I believe, which is basically a picture book about a little French bulldog puppy, and I love it. And the last one is the Magic Tree House books because those books taught me a lot of the things that I know about different times in history, and also they were just such a huge part of my childhood and I love them. I think one of my favorites was the one about Pompeii because I found that really interesting when I was younger for some reason. Like, yay, death. Anyway, that's all the books that I wanted to mention, I think. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite kids books are, whether they're ones that you read later on in life or the ones that you just loved when you were a kid. Let me know if you've read any of these books that I mentioned, and I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!